Welcome. Welcome, everybody, to our first
Good morning.
masterclass. Good morning. Nice to see your faces again. Welcome. If you could write in the chat where you're joining from, that would be wonderful. Just to see your time zones. Tony, you're gonna get prepared to go to sleep after this.
That's right. Yeah. So as you alluded before, if anybody's wondering, will they make it through the day? It's yes, you will. Sunset was fine. Yeah.
So we have Alexandra from Tampa, Florida, Susan from Boca Raton, Lopez from downtown Miami, Z from the UK, Bettina from Fernandina Beach. That's it. So welcome, everybody.
Right. And Scott's in. So okay, I love when you people go Boynton Beach, Scott. That would only mean something to somebody in Florida, I guess, right? I have no idea where that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Great chatting. So it's wonderful to see all new faces and familiar faces as well. So do you want to wait a couple more minutes, Tony, before we start? We have 13 people, or would you like to
Yeah,
start now?
entirely your call. You've got some admin you need to go through first, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So here we go. So some special announcements I'm going to share with you very quickly. So we're gonna next Tuesday we have a meeting January 13th. It's a webinar in January to give you information on the power coaching program with the alliance we have with We Evolution. It's a wonderful program to volunteer. We're looking for coaches to coach women. Fernando Celis has this program, which is the Coaching Practice Lab. If you need coaching hours or you want to interact with people and do barter coaching, this is a great opportunity. It's once a month. The first one will be on Friday, January 16 at 8:30. And on the 21st, we'll have another masterclass where we're going to have Caterina Capra, and she's going to talk from evidence to impact on positive psychology for leadership coaching. And Tony, welcome. Tony is based, originally you're from UK, from England, and you're based in Singapore. So you're 13 hours ahead of Miami. And you're an executive coach, leadership advisor, and coach educator with over 25 years of experience working with senior leaders, boards, and professional coaches across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. You are the founder of Profitable Leadership and Simplicity of Mastery and the creator of the 3 Laws of Coaching, a principle-based framework designed to support mastery level coaching beyond technique and competency checklist. So you mentioned it's the first time you're going to talk about something you want to share.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, good evening, good morning, everybody. It's an absolute honor to be here. I crave your indulgence today because although I've been running my coaching practice for just over 25 years now, I only started working with external coaches about 2.5, 3 years ago. Before that, all my work was with the corporates, training internal coaches. I was one of those unpopular people um, back in the day when ICF was saying a manager cannot be a coach. It's a conflict of interests. And I said, nonsense. Of course they can. And we were teaching it in corporates. And, we were right. Eventually they came around to seeing it. So we have that lovely little phrase of manager using coaching skills, because they still don't want to admit that the person is therefore a coach. So I've been around this world quite a while. Um, that just made me sound delightfully young, to be honest. My first exposure to coaching, my corporate life was in IT. So I was a techie. Um, Mainframes in the 70s. I went through programming, systems analysis, all those fun jobs. And 1984, I was in my first people management position. And I clearly wasn't doing very well because I was working for a software company that partnered with IBM. Um, they shared everything. So they were running a leadership program, and it was decided that I had to go. The good part was we did in a game. This was Timothy Galway, the American tennis coach, who I think is the first person in sports to discover non-directive coaching. And I think where it came from, Graham Alexander was the then head of IBM UK, keen amateur tennis player. He knew Galway's work. Galway had just set up with people like Alan Fine, young tennis professionals, the odd racing driver that you've heard of. They'd started the inner game and they were teaching this stuff, and it was absolutely mind blowing. I couldn't play tennis, I didn't even know the rules. And at the end of a week, I was coaching somebody in half an hour to a phenomenal improvement in their tennis game. And I'm getting all excited and going like, guys, this is amazing. I get it. It works. But how does it help me manage people better? To which they all shrugged and went, I don't know, we're sports guys. Instinct says it should, but we haven't figured it out. So whilst Galway and Alan Fine and John Whitmore and co were all sitting down, coming up with their grow model and that sort of stuff, I went back to work and started trying to figure it out. So my work in the application of coaching in the organization dates back to the thinking in the late 80s and early 90s. I ask you to bear with me because the stuff I've been talking to coaches about for the last 3 years is stuff I've been talking about for 20 years. This piece I'm going to share with you tonight, I am sharing publicly live to a group of people for the first time ever. It's an intense piece of thinking I did in 2025 for some thinking that literally started 10 years ago. And when you create something and you go like, this feels important, and then you go like, okay, now I've got to share it in public. So I have multiple screens around me behind this laptop I'm talking to you on with a bunch of notes and things. So if my eye contact goes all over the place, it's because I've got notes and pictures and diagrams and all sorts of stuff. So I crave your indulgence. So where to begin? The the situation we're in now with coaching is that there are multiple professional bodies. There are multiple definitions of coaching. There are multiple competency frameworks. And outside of those of us who are the professional coaches, none of that means very much to anybody. I still hear people talking today the same way we were talking 25 years ago, when we were saying you have to explain what coaching is and coaching isn't. And I've worked over the years as an ICF assessor. I work as a mentor coach. I now do coach training. Um, and you see some really interesting things going on. We see the development of the core competencies. And friends of mine like Fran Fisher did amazing work in those groups to put the core competencies together in the first place. I think the revisions we've had are awesome and essential, but it does leave us in a messy place. So you see, for example, social media flooded with coaches, ACC, PCC, even trying to work for their MCC level, trying to find people to coach. And we do reciprocal coaching so that I can clock my hours. And that's not good enough because that's not real coaching. You need to find ways to do real coaching with real people with real problems. Now, that's a whole separate talk, and purely by coincidence, I've got a book coming out tomorrow which, if you want to get a bit more money for coaching and if you want to be able to get some of those direct engagements with corporates where you can get slightly more interesting work and more fees, that's the book you need to read so that you can make a sales conversation as comfortable as a coaching conversation. So look out for that tomorrow. But it really struck me when I was having a conversation 10 years ago with the CEO, one of the clients I was coaching. He was the CEO of a fintech company. And we've been trying to look at how we could roll out coaching skills to all the leaders in the organization. And he sat down and he said, "Look, I've got a real problem." He said, "We know," he said, "I understand. I've been through your program. I know um, a manager is sometimes they have to manage, mentor, coach, train, teach, advise, consult. They their day-to-day work, they move through these different types of conversations." I said, "No, the bit I'm struggling with is they know when they're training, they know when they're giving advice. Yeah, a lot of these types of conversations they're having, they know when they're doing it and they know how to do it." So, but the one that we know is sometimes the best approach, when they stop telling people what to do, when they stop going down and solving the problems that are actually the job of the people who report to them, they need to coach and they don't get it. And one of the things that I noticed as the world, about 15 years ago, as the world started going like, oh, let's do coach training skills for leaders, a lot of them, to be honest, got it wrong because they were teaching the same ACC level programs that external coaches got taught. And you don't need that because the application conversations, the core principles of coaching are the same, but it's the applications that change. And in organizations, there are 5 or 6 distinct types of coaching application conversations to have. None of them are the coach sitting down as you would as maybe a life coach with your client, coaching them about their life. So I was feeling the need to do this and do this, do something that could help clarify and simplify what is coaching? What do we mean by that? Now, what actually happened, I was sitting down with this fintech CEO, and he was a science fiction buff, and I was as well. By the time I was 12, I'd read everything that Isaac Asimov had written up to that point. He and I were both in line. I don't know how many of you like science fiction, um, but the two best ever, Isaac Asimov and Ian Banks. That covers all the science fiction you really need to read. Now, one of the things he actually turned around to me, he said, "You know, Asimov's three laws of robotics." And I said, "Yes, of course." Oh, sorry. Quick question in the chat. Anybody know what I'm talking about when I talk about Isaac Asimov's three laws of robotics? Just give me a yes or no in the chat. Okay, one yes, one no. Anybody else? Any more yeses? No,
No,
no, no, no. Kind of heard of
more
it.
no's than
More
yes.
no's. Okay, so here was the thing. Isaac Asimov was an awesome science fiction writer, and he came up with the three laws of robotics. And I'll explain to you what they are. In fact, I'll tell you what they are. So he said it doesn't matter what shape a robot is. It can be a humanoid type shape. It could be a box in a factory that's designed to do a particular task. Doesn't matter. But he invented this thing in fiction called a positronic brain. So it was the actual manifestation of a brain for a robot that was pretty much as good as a human one. But he said the important thing is we've got to be safe. So he had three laws of robotics. Law one said a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human to come to harm. The second law said a robot must obey the orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. So, okay, so the robot's got to do what it's told, but if I say, go kill Scott, it's going to go, nah, sorry, I'm not allowed to do that. And the third law said a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. And this was such a masterpiece because you now don't have to give a robot guidelines. You can just build a robot, install the three laws in its brain, and set it free in the world to do whatever task it's designed to do. And it will never hurt a human being because it follows those three laws. And I mean, this was a mind-blowing masterpiece. So my client said, Tony, that's what we need. He said, why can't you come up with the three laws of coaching? Just make it that simple. And the way the techie brain mind worked, I started thinking about it. And then eventually I came back beginning of last year. And for some reason, 2025 hit, and I sort of went, you know what? I really need to finish this. Part of it, I'll grant you, was triggered by the last 3 years' emergence of AI and people designing AI coaching bots and all the sort of garbage that's being produced in that area. Yeah. And that's another whole different conversation and talk that we can go into, but there's lots of fun stuff happening there. But I think that was the motivator. So what I wanted, I mean, and you'll have noticed as well, um, the PCC markers, for example. Now, I think the PCC markers were a good idea. It gave people a bit more clarity on what's expected. But the confusion that's come out is that we start to see coaches practicing in those many, many years it takes to get the hours to apply for MCC. They practice coaching at PCC level. And we start to see coaching, which is repetitive and a little robotic, if I can use the word, because they're demonstrating the PCC markers. And one of the reasons that the first time failure rate for the MCC exam is so high is because they haven't got that same clarity of here's precisely what you have to do. And the confusion people have is that they tend to think and therefore practice coaching with their mentor coaches to pass an exam. Now, coaching is not the same as passing as an exam. There is no way that anybody is expected that every coaching conversation you have must sound like an ICF exam and pass an exam and hit all the markers. That's just not possible. I'll give you context example. Um, Competency 8. There is no way with my clients, my corporate CEOs, we sit down every week moving stuff about their business forward. There's no way I could sit down with them at the end of every session every week and start digging into, so what's the realization you've had about yourself through today's conversation? And what are you discovering? And they're going to go like, excuse me, I've got to play an altar run. Get out. Now, what we do is we leverage the first half of competency 3. First half of competency 3 really looks after the overarching coaching engagement. Second half of competency 3 looks after the individual sessions. Okay. So first half of competency 3, and every 3 months we sit down and we have a coaching conversation, which is pure competency 8. And we do an in-depth review of everything. Now, that doesn't mean I'm a bad coach. You have to think of it like martial arts. So I don't know, I'm a father. When fathers get daughters, they get very protective. So at the age of about 45, I'm going like, how do I protect my daughters? They need to learn karate. They need to be able to defend themselves. Unfortunately, the only way I could get them to a karate class was if I went. So at a somewhat unfit traveling businessman 45-year-old, I had to start doing karate. Um, in fairness, I didn't do too bad. I got ready to take my black belt and buffed my shoulder in the process, and that kind of stopped there. But, the daughters are safe. In karate, you train every day or every week. You go in the dojo and you have your katas, your set pieces, and you do them over and over and over again until they become completely embodied in your physicality, your brain, your muscles. When you go for your grading to get your black belt, you have to perform those set pieces. You have to demonstrate that you know them all. That's not what you do when you get in a fight. If somebody tries to mug you on the street, you just relax, and in the moment, you allow your body to react based on everything it knows to whatever move is coming at you from the assailant in front of you. The person comes to mug you, you can't go, oh, just hang on a minute. Could you, I'm just going to stand like this. Could you just come at me this way? Because I've got a really good move for that. It's like, that's not going to happen. And coaching mastery is the same. You've got to practice your basics, but your basics must support mastery so that you can eventually learn to just let go and flow. So, where does that take us? Coaching is getting spread, and we are going to see coaching being picked up in parts of life where it never has been before. um, these platforms and the people doing the AI coaching bots and trying to do the democratization of coaching, it's not democratization. Actually, it's debasing. But the upside of what they're doing means lots more people will start to use coaching. A lot of them in that growth will use coaching bots, because if a coaching bot can coach at the same level to the PCC markers as a human can, why are they going to pay a human? So we have to up our game. We have to be able to work at a higher level. But there is going to be a lot more of it. And if we want people to understand what coaching is, like my CEO, if he wants his managers to know when they're coaching, because that's the important thing. You can move in a conversation as a leader, from coaching to teaching to managing to mentoring. You can switch styles all in the same conversation sometimes. But you've got to know what you're doing. So you've got to really understand, when is coaching the right thing, and when am I doing it and when am I not? And as we, if we want coaching to be the style of communication that is used between people around the world, not just something that a bunch of elite professionals do for money, then we've got to have a much, much simpler way of understanding what it's about. We've got to have something that goes in the same way that the three laws of robotics is a governing system. You know, robots can take different forms, perform different tasks, but the laws allow them to operate in the real world as long as the laws are obeyed. So similarly, we can have as many coaching models, techniques, schools, governing bodies, core competency sets, many as you like. And they don't matter which ones you come from, as long as you can say, in my application, it worked. So let me give you a quick example. Um, I'm assuming you're all ICF. Is anybody aligned with EMCC, European Mentoring Coaching Council? No? Okay. So they have a competency set that's different from ours, some commonalities. So a couple of things, for example. One of our competencies is evokes awareness. Now, when you strip that back, evoking awareness is really just asking one question. Does what I say or ask as the coach actually trigger fresh thinking in the client? Am I evoking awareness? The listens actively, another good example. So in ICF terms, active listening isn't about technique. It's about whether what I say next is genuinely in response to something that has just come from the client, not me choosing the direction of where we go. And for completeness, because I know them anyway, um, one of the first core competencies for the EMCC is about understanding self. And they specifically name that as important because as a coach, if I'm unaware of my own reactions, biases, or need to sound clever, I'm going to violate good coaching pretty quickly. And we have an interesting one as well when it comes to coaching models and techniques. Um, ICF says if a coach cannot move beyond prepared questions, structures, and models, they will never be awarded mastery. So if you're working towards mastery level coaching, you've got to let go of the models. They're still useful, but you've got to use them differently. EMCC says use models and techniques, but only appropriately, flexibly, and in service to the client. So that's the point. It's like, is what I'm using in service to the client? So let me maybe talk you through exactly what the three laws are. Bear with me while I go press the techie buttons to share. Now, what we're going to do in about 5 minutes or so, when I finish sharing what the laws are with you, is we're going to put you into breakout rooms. We're going to give you about 20 minutes in groups of three to have some discussions. So I'm going to tell you what I want you to think about. Now, it could be questions you want me to clarify. It could be thoughts that you have as a point of reflecting on something I'm going to land on you in a moment. But let me first take you through the three laws. So first law, everything the coach does in a coaching conversation must have the intention of triggering fresh thinking in the client, whether in establishing or resolving the agreed outcome for the coaching, addressing issues they need to resolve to achieve that outcome, or deepening their understanding of themselves. One of my favorite documents, I only look, and I advise you as well, no matter what your coaching level, only look at the MCC stuff, because the faster you get to mastery in your coaching, the better. And the second half of competency 3, I think 3.6, says fully partnering with the client. This is in the minimum skills document, fully partnering with the client to establish what they need to achieve from the coaching session. And then 3.7 says fully partnering from the client to establish what they need to resolve in order to achieve what they need to achieve from the session. So it's very clearly saying you've got to go deep. You know, the problem that they bring isn't often the problem that needs resolving. There's something deeper. So first law is really saying it's got to be about triggering fresh thinking. And let me see if I can just get, oh, there we go, second law. So the second law says everything the coach does must be responsive to what the client has communicated and must not conflict with the first law. So you can see where I got my inspiration from Asimov, the idea of having the nested structure of the laws that work together. So this is what helps you with letting go of your models and your structures. You don't go, oh, here's a great technique that I like to use with all my clients. Your use of that technique must have come in response to something that you've detected or been communicated from the client. And then the third law says the coach may bring silence, questions, insights, observations, metaphors, analogies, knowledge, or information to the coaching conversation, provided this does not conflict with the first or second laws. And this certainly helps, I think, with some of the confusion we've seen in recent months since the core competencies were changed and the word knowledge was brought into, I think, competency 7, right? Now, a lot of people got a little confused. There's a huge difference between spotting there's some missing knowledge and sharing it and giving advice. And even in the early days when I was first training to be an assessor, in about 2006, 2007, it wasn't written down, but it was clear and taught to me, you can't coach through a knowledge gap. If a client is stuck because there's some knowledge missing, you have an obligation to help. And the knowledge could come from you, or it might come from somewhere else, or you might simply help them discover where they could get that knowledge from. But you don't sit there pretending. So one of the biggest pieces of nonsense that I hear about coaching is when we say the client always has the answers within themselves. No, they don't. You can't coach through a knowledge gap. Problem solving, innovation, creativity, and breakthrough is simply connecting previously unconnected data in your brain. If there is a data point missing, you can't make the connection. So, those are the 3 laws. Now, why they matter in practice. For me, the necessity and the beauty of it as I've created this is that it gives you a very simple way to evaluate your coaching. So they're not about the theory or the training hours or what you know. It's about what just happened when you were actually coaching. So Asimov's 3 laws of robotics weren't written for the robot's maintenance manual. They were to apply when the robot is out there in the world, in action, interacting with humans. The 3 laws of coaching are there for you to reflect on when you're out there in the world interacting with coaches, with your clients. It gives you a simple way to say, did I just coach good? So it's not about your certification or your preferred model or anything like that. It's just a way of you asking in real time or immediately afterwards, was the coaching I just did good coaching? So following the laws, you're just asking yourself, did I trigger fresh thinking or not? Was what I did in response to what was coming from the client, or was it my idea? And if I shared something, did it serve the client's outcome? And was it triggered by them? And did I deliver it in a way that triggered fresh thinking? Now, before we go into the breakouts, I want you to just pause for a moment and think back, either earlier today or yesterday, to the last coaching session that you did. Now, just let it replay in your head for a moment. And then ask yourself this question. As I replay my last coaching session, did I honor the three laws or did I break them? Now, did you notice that you didn't need a competency checklist to answer that question? You already knew. So that's what the three laws gives you. A truly felt sense of whether the coaching you just did was clean or whether something drifted. So the laws don't make you a better coach. They make it harder to lie to yourself. To paraphrase Margaret Thatcher and a few other people who said similar things, if you have to argue that what you did was good coaching, it probably wasn't. So that's all I've got to share today. And I can share as much more as you like. What I'd like us to do now, and Katja's going to help me with this, is to pop you out into breakout rooms
Three
for,
people, right? For three people, 20 minutes?
yeah, three
Or,
people, 20 minutes. And then when you come back with either comments, observations, insights, or questions. And then we'll spend our remaining time um, answering those questions.
okay, ready?
Off you go. Have fun. Is Dawn stranded? Nope,
Yes.
she's gone.
Um,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
All right. I'm not going to join a room. I'm just gonna wait here with you guys because I've done in the past. If I join a room, suddenly they turn it into a Q&A, which takes
Okay.
them away from that
Okay,
discussion that I actually want them to have. Yeah.
great. So you would like us to join. Claudia, are you joining a room?
No, I won't be
If
able to join now.
Okay. Katja, if you want to go and join one of the rooms and join the
Okay,
discussion,
I'll
feel
join
free.
the one where you were
Yeah.
assigned,
Okay.
Claudia.
I'll
Okay?
I'll I'll be here and we'll wait for you to come back.
Yeah, and we have a timer, so in 20
Okay.
minutes, right?
Perfect. Great. So, instant feedback time, how was that?
I think it was great. I saw everybody taking notes.
Okay.
Yeah, which is good. That is a good sign.
Mm.
People were taking notes. And that last question, I I was searching in my mind my last coaching session. And I think you're right. We have to ask ourselves and check in with ourselves if that was a good coaching session or not.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Very good.
And, the the massively detailed stuff that we do with our mentor coaches, reviewing recordings and things like that is all good and necessary and part of our development, ready for the exams.
Right.
But it doesn't help you on a sort of day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it seems like you're getting ready for that evaluation, but maybe not what you're actually doing
Yeah.
um, during the
Yes.
actual coaching session.
Yes. You're practicing passing exams,
Right.
not
Right.
not doing good coaching. Yeah. So where are you now with your credentialing? What level are you at?
Uh, I I've had the ACC for 3 years. I just renewed last year my credential,
Okay.
and I have plans to continue with the PCC path. So
Mm.
that's what I'm doing this year. I want to take it slow. I don't want to rush through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was interesting. I got started doing the type of training I do for coaches
Mm-hmm.
about 3 years ago when a couple of friends who were assessors, who are current assessors, were saying, we're still having a problem
Mm-hmm.
because people get their PCC and then to get the hours for MCC takes on average about maybe 6 years,
Mm-hmm. Right.
because it's a lot of hours. But because they're doing their renewals, they're doing their continuous coach education, but everything they're learning is just new applications of coaching at a PCC level. So
Yeah.
you spend 6 or 7 years really ingraining the habits of how you coach at PCC level, which makes making the jump to MCC so much more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is what I heard from a lot of people that have the PCCs say that they don't want to go through the whole stress of I think they're perfectly comfortable with the PCC and they
Mm.
probably don't, most people don't that I've talked to, they don't aspire to get the MCC. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where things are going to get sticky,
Mhm.
because there are now AI coaching bots out there that can coach at
Mhm.
PCC standard.
Wow. Yeah. And
So,
it's I think it's divided. Um,
mm.
it's like a AI cannot. They don't, the machine doesn't have intuition. They can't see facial. I mean,
Oh,
until
well,
now.
no. Okay. So you've put your finger on a really interesting one, because
Mhm.
when coaches say about the human stuff,
Mhm.
a lot of what they talk about is actually just data processing. So
Mm,
intuition happens at two levels. There is the intuition, which is you accessing all your stored personal, professional, emotional experiences
mhm.
that are stored in your brain and your body. And the intuition, you hear something from somebody and your brain does pattern matching.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and that's because our brains work on pattern matching. Pattern matching is something that computers are really good at. And when it comes to emotional, personal, and professional experiences,
Mm-hmm.
humans have spent the last 15 years dumping all that onto social media, which is the stuff that the AI tools are trained on.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that pattern matching level of intuition, the computer's faster and has got more data.
Mm. Yeah, that's not
Yeah,
the kind of intuition that I'm referring to. I think it's more
right.
like
If you
a sense that
are
you
you
get.
talking about the intuition where you actually go beyond your body and your knowledge, and you're connecting to the energy fields that the universe is comprised of?
Yeah, in a sense,
Right.
when I am with a client and I sense that they are not saying all of it, I
Mm.
would say, I want to share something with you, a reflection. This is my intuition. You can throw it away if it doesn't resonate.
Yeah,
90% of the times it does. So I can
yeah,
sense it. I can sense
right.
in the client,
Mm. Mm.
either they have fear, or I don't know. It's something that I cannot describe how
Yeah,
I sense it. I just sense
right.
it.
Okay. Yeah, and I know what you're talking about. But the interesting thing is that that can happen again at two levels,
Yeah.
because that could be sheer volume of pattern matching.
Yeah, it could be.
The person's context, the job or the problem they talked about. If you've seen and experienced so many patterns like that, and I
Mm-hmm.
and the data and the pattern matching goes, you know what? If that's happening, that's happening, that's happening, there should be something over here. They haven't said that. Let's go ask about it.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah. Now
do you
that
think it's
level,
like archetypes? They are kind of programming the
they're just
machine.
patterns, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Those are patterns. Now, the in the same scenario, if you have learned to open up your energy receptors so that you can pick up the energetic vibration coming from
Mm-hmm.
that person, that's same context but a higher level of intuition, and that's the
Right.
one that the AI can't do.
Yeah, it counts. Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
So
And
the I
even,
mean that's
looking, right.
yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say, even looking at your client, looking them like straight in the eye, and even when, because I have a lot of girls, like in their late 20s, and I can
Hmm.
see them, like I can see their body language, even if it's on the screen, and I can tell, they probably what they're going through, even if they're not
Right.
saying it. And that's probably what you're
Yes.
saying in terms of the second level of intuition.
No, no, there's more than that. There's more than that. It's literally a physical, energetic level connection.
Right.
Because what you're talking about in terms of body language, so if you think about it, I mean, I'm doing a talk in next week for one of the India chapters on this one about AI.
Mhm.
One of the problems is that all the current AI bots are doing text-based coaching. Now,
Mhm.
humans never did text-based coaching, but if you gave the AI bot the same receptors, so just give it a microphone
Mhm.
and a video camera.
Mhm.
If you've got a microphone and a video camera as input feeds, suddenly your AI can detect not just the words you're saying or not saying, but it can detect those facial expressions, the body language, the eye movement.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, you'll know it because sometimes you ask somebody a question it does trigger thinking, and you know it because you see an eye movement.
Mm-hmm.
But they say, "Oh, I don't know."
Right.
Now, if it's text based, you're screwed. You can't go anywhere. But if the AI bot can actually see, so it can see there was an eye movement, and it picks up on the microphone that they're saying, "I don't know," it can be programmed to do that path matching and know the difference. Like, well, hang on a minute, yeah, what are you not
Mm-hmm.
telling me? Because you did think of something. I saw your eyes move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
So
I don't know
so
how much the younger
as soon
generation
as
is going to do that
yeah,
transition.
well, as soon as they give the AI coaching tools, the sensors, the microphones, and the video
Mhm.
cameras, yeah, then the game changes completely.
Yeah.
And just coaching at a comfortable PCC level is not going to work anymore because you're out of business.
Yeah, that's true.
You've got to be able to work as you're describing it as that intuition level where it's got nothing to do with what I'm seeing. It's what I'm sensing, what I'm feeling, what's in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why I mean we have in our we do a sort of a monthly membership program so
Mm-hmm.
that people can do some online learning and then we come and do live stuff a few times a month because that's the only way you can learn the energy work.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
my initiative, my originally was to help PCCs get to MCC.
Mm,
But what I've got, 50% of my members are already MCC,
wow.
but they're MCCs who don't know how to do the energy work, so they want to learn that.
Yeah.
And then we've got some PC, and then we've got quite a number of experienced ACCs who are going, you know what, on an hours basis, MCC is a long way down the road, but I want to learn to coach at that higher level now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's and then
Yeah,
it
because it's not
becomes
about
easier.
the credential, right? Yeah, it's
Right, it's
can
not
you
about the
coach at that level?
credential. Right.
Yes,
And so
yes,
many people
yes.
out there are coaching and doing great work and they don't have credentials. So, yeah, it's
And one of the I think the people who are out there doing good work, but not are not with any form of credentialing.
mhm.
They're limiting their development because the whole point of credentialing with whatever professional body is to give you a structured way of continuous growth.
Right, right. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, so
And it
you've
gives
got to
you
have
yeah, and it gives you leverage and the perception that you have with your clients and the market,
yeah. If
it's
if you
terrific.
need it, some people are lucky they don't. They've got the connections, and it works. But even more importantly, those sort of people who are outside of um, the coaching professional bodies, um, the three laws work for them as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's been created to be supportive of everything and agnostic to everything.
Hmm. Yeah, really interesting. So is your book coming
Mm.
out on Amazon or where can we look for it?
So the first book, the one about selling yourself to corporates, is on Amazon print tomorrow.
Mhm.
The Kindle, and it's on Kindle as well. So the Kindle, you can do pre-orders, so that you can pre-order that now. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, I got it.
yeah. I discovered when you go on Amazon and search for authors by name, there's only two of us with my name. The other guy does music, and he's dead, I
Yes,
think.
that's
So,
what I'm seeing. Yeah.
so that's the upside. It's easy to
So,
find.
yeah, sell yourself
But the
first.
yes, this book, the next book I'm working on is the base of the three laws. Yeah, that'll be the next one for coaches coming out,
Wonderful.
and lots more to come.
Hmm.
Okay, my watch says we're a couple of minutes away from that 20 minutes. How are they doing?
I don't know. I can't see from here because you have the host and co-host. I don't know how many minutes you have left.
Let's have a look in breakout rooms. Oh, 3 minutes, 14 seconds.
Okay.
So when you put the recording up on your site, do we cut out this piece here where you
Yeah.
and I have just been chit-chatting?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they cut out everything. I used to stop and then resume the recording. Sometimes I would forget. So
Mm,
we just leave it like that. And our
mm,
VA, she takes care of editing everything.
awesome.
And just, yeah, and just keeping, what's important, not this part.
Yeah. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So here's what we need to do. We want somebody from each group, each breakout group, to go and put the questions you've got into the chat. While you're doing that, because that creates a moment of awkward pause, let me just share for you. If anybody wants, we talked and alluded a little bit there about some of the training that I do. If you go to profitableleadership.com/first steps, you can do the first introductory overview module of the mastery training that we do in our membership program. It's an hour. It's made up of 5 videos, and I guarantee it'll give you some ideas that you can take and apply in your coaching immediately. And it is definitively training that is 3 laws compliant. Okay. Have we got any questions that have been keyed into the? No questions in the chat.
Nothing yet. Nothing yet, Tony.
I do have, I was trying to just figure out how to raise my hand, but I can't see where that is.
Sorry.
If it
Just
says,
speaking works. Yes,
okay.
go for it. Go.
Okay, so what 2 things? One, do we get a copy? I don't know if this is a question for Katia, but do we get a copy of your slide deck after the call? Or
No, but if you connect with me on LinkedIn, and I think the whole presentation, so you will be able to see it will be recorded and go up. I'll be putting a copy up on my channel as well. So if you want to go back and revisit it, yes, you'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm busy working on the book that's going to go with to support and explain the 3 laws at the moment. So that'll be out in a few months. So you'll be able to get hold of that, because you're right. The idea is that it's there for you to go. Here's the
Don
law.
would like
Here's the
the
exact
link
wording.
again. Don
The
would like the
link.
link again. There you go.
Oh, yeah, someone's put it in. Good.
Yes. Thank you, Francine.
And then so the question I had then, Tony, was around the second law. Around, but I can't remember what it was. But I remember the essence of it, but not the exact wording of it. But so, and in terms of what you say and what you do as a coach, being a response to what's come from the client versus it being your own idea. So
Yes.
I guess my question is it possible for it to be both? For it to be your own idea that's come from something that the client has said? So do you see what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, I think it's not your idea then, is it? If it comes to mind because of something they've said. So here's what happens.
Okay.
When you really learn to coach at a top level, you don't do anything in a coaching session. You don't think, right? So when you coaching is the process of making people think. And when I'm working with coaches, the worst thing we see happen is that the coach pauses and you can see them going, and you go like, you're thinking, you're trying to think what to say next. Wrong. That's not your job. Your job is to make the other person think. Now, the way this works, the more you learn, it's like, as I said, the martial arts thing. You practice your katas every day. You absorb this stuff. Your subconscious is the knowledge base, the database of everything you know and everything you've experienced. It's also the mainframe processor. So when you're with a client, consciously, you should simply focus on connecting and listening. And the way I teach you to listen is a very sort of Zen meditation way where you empty your conscious awareness so that everything you hear goes straight to your subconscious. Your subconscious then, at the speed of thought, which is phenomenally fast, then does the processing, the pattern matching, draws on all the things you know. And that's where what you're aware of is the client says something and you go, oh, I need to ask them this. But that's as the result of the processing. Something came from them, and your subconscious went, aha, here's what I know or could ask that comes from what they've just said. So it is you have been triggered to say that or ask that next question as a direct result of what the client just said or did.
Okay.
It could only be your idea if you thought of, oh, I ought to do such and such, but you couldn't say that it came from anything the client said.
Okay.
I'll give an example. I've got friends who coach who love assessments. And they go, yeah, I always get my clients to do this particular assessment, and then I know who they are and how to approach them. Oh, sorry. Totally wrong. Right? That just doesn't work. Because you are coming from so many judgments and things about them. Okay, we have a question. Dawn, you had a question.
I
What's the
didn't
goal of the law? And
I didn't know how to do the bottom part either. But one of the things, first of all, the group I was a part of, we were interested in what level coach that you typically target. But also there's a huge piece here. We wanted to know why you chose the word law as opposed to guidelines or principles, because the law piece is very, it's like it must be done within, and the important thing is let's be present, and let's also, like you just mentioned, the conscious and subconscious, which I'm very familiar with. And I'm also in a bioenergetic program where, you bring in the person's energy and what they're doing. But depending on who you're speaking to, and if somebody's taking it literally and they're like, then they're going to the head too much. They shouldn't be going to the head that much, because that takes you out of being present.
right. So let's be clear. The laws are not there to teach you to coach.
They're
The
not.
laws are there. No, they're there to help you evaluate, did I just coach well? So I do coach training.
So did I.
I teach mastery. I teach, yes, the energy connection work. And I got to tell you, over the last year, we have threaded every word in the three laws, played with it, tested it, changed it, come back to it. It's very deliberate. One of the things you'll notice is that it's about what is communicated by the client, which may be at the Newtonian physics level, or it may be energetic stuff at the quantum physics level. So when you're coaching at a high level and using energy, you pick up signals from the client. May not be a facial expression or a word they said. It could be just an energetic signal you picked up. That's communicated. So the three laws is there to say we're agnostic to all the different disciplines, but supportive of everything. It's a simplified way of helping us say and stay online day by day. So it's not like the detailed work you have to do with your mental coach to practice for an exam. This is just a very simple, elegant way of saying, what I just did, was that good coaching? So it's, okay, let me check. Did that answer the question? Because there were a couple of parts to what you said.
Answer as far as depending on the level of coach you're even speaking with, because if you're speaking with beginning level coaches or whatever, they're taking things like laws as this is what you must follow, as opposed to guidelines or whatever. The things that we must follow are things like ethics. This is what we discussed in our group.
Yeah. Okay, so and again, I had with a couple of my close friends, like Fran Fisher in particular. She engaged me on the debate on calling it the laws, and her first comment was, "Shouldn't it be guidelines? That's a little more gentle." And I said, no, but if you say it's guidelines, then it actually is saying they're optional. The purpose of saying they are laws is saying, no, these are not optional. Because there is nothing, I believe, that anybody is teaching coaches to do which couldn't sit within these three laws. There might be some things you get taught that you go, well, you can't do this bit of your favorite model now because there's nothing coming from the client that says that's the right thing to do. What level of coach am I aiming it at? I'm aiming it at everybody. Because one of the things I do, so the coach training I do, I do level 3. I do a level 3, if you like, membership basis, but we have ACC, PCC, and MCC coaches coming in because they're learning the energetic work. You can teach mastery to beginners. And I know that because the stuff that I teach that is classified as level 3 coaching was the stuff I taught beginners in corporate environments, managers and internal coaches for 20 years.
Right. I've done
And
this.
they just get it, right? So you know what I'm talking about. They just get it.
I do
So,
too, but we discussed also the part of where you're talking about a manager shouldn't be, when you do, because I've coached from government to the intelligence community, et cetera, all the Fortune 500s, blah, blah, blah. And the reason that you want to bring a coach in and not have your manager as a coach is because an employee or independent contractor might not feel free to say everything that they want to say to their manager. And for a manager to, we didn't know whether you were saying the manager might have a coaching style or that, a manager can be the coach to the person that's, below them.
yeah. Right. And so again, to clarify, my point about that was, yes, absolutely managers can use coaching skills. And sometimes it's about, there are so many different application conversations. Now, one of the things, for example, that I do a lot of in corporates is the transition coaching for a new hire or a promotion. Somebody's just been made CEO, you coach them up through that. Because with transitions, and this is a big problem I see in organizations, people get promoted and don't get a coach. Now, the manager's responsibility for somebody, for an employee, is to manage and develop their performance in the current job and develop them and get them ready for the next one. The problem with transitions, for example, when somebody gets promoted, is that once you've been given the promotion, your last manager that you're leaving has no more responsibility for you. And your new manager doesn't take responsibility until he's managing your performance in the job. Nobody owns the transition. You've got to have either an internal or external independent coach for that. So it's all about, so who coaches who and when and why is all about the different application conversations.
Tony, we have a question here from Don Moore that says, what's the goal of the law in driving the conversation? How do you bridge the knowledge gap without facilitation? What does coaching look like since our inner awareness will take over? How do we find out if there is a knowledge gap? And a comment before you answer, Shakti said that she feels the laws definitely honor presence, because if a coach honors showing up, honoring these laws, it will translate to their presence. That's for her.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So a talk I did for a lot of your colleagues in some of the other American chapters just last week was about the interplay of the competencies and how, as I always slightly humorously say competency 5 for presence is the one you can ignore. Presence is what happens when you get some other stuff right. Yeah, the deep listening, the connection, and so on. So yes, I agree with Shakti on that. It really does. If what you've done is compliant with the 3 laws, there is no way you are not present. Absolutely no way.
And Francie, a comment from her. I really appreciate how these laws keep you accountable throughout the conversation as it flows instead of a checklist.
Yes, yes. And one of the fun things I'm doing as I'm writing the book about this, I'm actually developing or testing to see if I can develop a tool where you could upload the transcript of a conversation and it would then analyze everything the coach says and compare it to the 3 laws and then give you feedback to say, where were you compliant, where were you not? So it's a really helpful developmental tool. So you can just take a transcript, plug it in, and get a report back that says, okay, and not giving advice, right? Because I don't know about you guys, if you play with AI. Recently, I've seen some tools coming out which say, this will compare your transcript of a coaching session to the competencies, and then it'll tell you what you should have done instead. No AI is qualified to do that. It's got to stop at here's the analysis of what you did. Yeah. You and your mental coach and your trainer are the ones who should be then helping you figure out what should I do instead. But yes, I think that's a really good idea, and that's where I'm going to go with that, to help so that you've got that ability very quickly to use technology to just get instant feedback on a transcript of a coaching session, literally sentence by sentence. Dawn, let me go back to yours. I just realized that was the 4 questions that came out of your group, I'm guessing, right? Dawn, which one do you want me to go with first?
You're muted,
You're
Dawn.
Got it. And thank you for that. I think the biggest question the one that we stayed on the longest was how we identify and bridge the knowledge gap. Was I think that got quite a bit of conversation out of us during the session. Scott and Bettina,
Okay,
feel free
let's
to pop
let's
in.
start with that one. Right.
Yeah.
So when typically people come to coaching because there's an issue they need to resolve, or that's what initiates the coaching conversation. If they can't figure it out, because problem solving, just like innovation and creativity, are simply connecting previously unconnected data in your brain. So as long as you, the coach, are triggering their thinking, they will connect the unconnected data and find a solution. And that solution then forms a neural pathway in their brain, so they own it. What I noticed is if they can't find a solution because there's some knowledge missing, it becomes clear. Often the coach will hear it and they will hear it as well. And you will just hear something where there's a piece of information missing. So then you can raise it, you can play that up, you can question it, you can check it. Yeah. So never be afraid to call it out. If you suspect, if what's coming from the client makes you suspect that there's something they don't know or there's something missing, call it out. When I was an assessor, Francine, I'll be with you in 2 seconds. Yeah. When I was an assessor, we used to do them live in the old days, 2 MCCs and the person being assessed. And at the end of it, when we sat down with them and said, I'm sorry, you failed, here's why, we might, for example, say, we heard the client say this and this and this, and you didn't pick up on any of them. No coach ever says, oh, I didn't hear that. They say, yeah, I heard it and I wasn't sure if it was okay to bring it up. And the answer is yes, it is. The lost competency. This is the one thing we got wrong. The lost competency from the last set of the 11, direct communication. If something comes up for you as the coach, call it out. Yeah, have the courage to call it out. Let me just pop across to Francine, and then I'll come back, Dawn, to a couple more of your questions. Francine.
Hi. Yes, so the knowledge gap came up in our conversation as well, and I think maybe we're all kind of curious if how to express that you're witnessing a knowledge gap, or how to bring that up without, I don't know, leading per se. I mean, almost like if you
Okay.
can give an example.
Yeah, just ask.
Okay.
Literally just ask. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Something you need to learn and get comfortable with. When you first learn to coach, you have to learn to let go of the problem solving. And that's our first hurdle we get over. When you want to shift to mastery, you have to learn to let go of the need for the problem that triggered the coaching conversation to be solved. And this is hard because, you're paid to help them solve their problems, right? Imagine the conversation where they go, I'm thinking of hiring you as my coach. What results did your last client get? Well, nothing really. Brilliant. I'll hire you. It's not going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to perform. So we're under pressure to perform. And yet, the easiest way to perform is when you completely let go of the need to perform. So it's about attachment. You've got to let go of any attachment. And at the energy level, intention is the control panel for energy. And without knowing what they're doing, clients can read your intention. They respond to your intention. So if you ask a question, you could ask almost exactly the same question because you want to get more clarity on their situation because you're kind of like in your I'm problem solving mode. But if you have no attachment and no intention to be the problem solver, you can ask exactly the same question and they will respond differently. The difference between sharing some knowledge that's missing once you spot it, so you just check. That sounded to me as though you were a little unsure about. I mean, we get some funny ones. I'll give you an example that's come up a number of times. I'm coaching a manager who's got an issue with one of their staff, and the staff member is performing on 85% of the job fine. But there's just one thing that they don't reach on for some reason. But because it's hard to hire people and they're under pressure, etc., the manager's struggling with giving the person the feedback. So they come into a coaching session, and when you play back what you're hearing, you might be so it's almost sounds as if you're operating from a belief that it's okay for your staff to decide which parts of the job they do, despite the fact that they take 100% of the salary. And they go like, no, it's not that. Okay. So just pull it out. Because as long as you don't have any attachment to what you're doing. If you hear, I'll think of another example. Another common one. A lot of people in corporates that I work with don't really get trained in doing performance management. So when people aren't performing, they don't know how to structure a feedback conversation in a productive way that people will accept and benefit from. So typically, you're going to hear them describing how they've approached those conversations with their staff or what reaction they're getting from the staff. And that's going to trigger alarm bells, and you're going to go, sounds like this person doesn't actually know how to give feedback properly. So you can just ask. And you can either ask, how confident are you when you're giving feedback? What do you experience when you have to give feedback? Or you could go straight in and say, so in your history as a manager, how often have you ever been trained in how to give feedback and have performance conversations? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different ways. Trust your instincts in the moment to pick the right way to say it, because that will be you responding to the person and the environment and the situation. Fully three laws compliant, right?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Shakti made another comment here. I would say we redefined what perform means in coaching. We definitely perform, but at a different level.
Yes. And it's one of those paradoxes. When you let go of trying to perform, you perform better. It's the hard bit, but it's true. It's what happens. Yeah. Going back
One more
to Dawn's
question.
groups.
One more question,
Oh,
Tony. Conscious
yes,
of
sure.
time, we have 4 minutes and
Okay. So Dawn, which of the other questions in your group do we want to answer? No pressure, 3.5 minutes left. You're choosing.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the time. The other question, because ultimately we want to understand to not allow our inner expert to come out, and we want to keep the questions coming from the clients. So the question becomes, when they don't recognize that there is a competency gap, when they don't recognize that they have not done the reflection, what helps, what tools do we have, or how can we help them get there and stay away from inserting, and stay away from facilitating as opposed to coaching?
Okay. I need you to reword that for me because I'm not quite sure what you're saying is happening with the client that you're struggling with.
Yeah, the client we recognize there is a coaching gap. We ask the question, but the client is not aware that there is a gap.
A gap in what? Are you talking the
A
knowledge
gap
gaps
in
again?
knowledge gap, yes. Gap in
Oh,
knowledge, yes.
okay. So that's not going to happen
Okay.
because if you flag up and call it out or question, you question them about the gap there. If they say no, there isn't, I know everything I need to know, then okay, so put together what you know to come up with a solution. They'll either be able to come up with a solution or they won't. So when you're focused on triggering their thinking, if the data's in their brain, it will get connected eventually. If it's
Okay.
missing, they're going to get to that point and go, I'm stuck. At which point you can always do knowledge sharing. And so don't be afraid. You could even share some knowledge and say, well, problem solving is just connecting previously unconnected data in the brain. I hear what you're saying, that you're struggling to find a solution. What might the missing knowledge be? What is it that you don't know that's getting you stuck here? And they'll find it. Yeah, they'll find it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
I
and I'm going to do a masterclass in timing now and say, as the clock turns 22:59 my time, it's time for me to stop. And thank you all. Thank you for the privilege of having me here. Thank you for letting me share my ideas with you. Much appreciated. And please feel free to connect on LinkedIn, because then you get access to all the new stuff that I'm doing. I Google
please,
quite well, as they say.
please don't forget the form. It's important feedback for us, and we'll share it with you, Tony. There's some messages here. I've sent the QR in the link to the form. So I'm just gonna share this just in case somebody wants to use their camera for this.
Tony, what's the name of your book coming out tomorrow?
Yes.
It's called Sell Yourself to Corporates. It's not a sales textbook, it's a story that as a coach you can listen to and find some ideas and insights and things that you could use, some principles you could use to make sales conversations a lot more easy and more coach-like.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tony, for
Thank
your
you.
time. It was wonderful, thought-provoking. We really enjoyed in the breakout rooms the clarity and the laws as non-negotiables, no, which we don't have to look at the markers, and it gives you really a way to focus on what coaching is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank
great day.
you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye.